They were trying to compel people to say he was the greatest. Michael Jordan didn't say that about himself. Kobe Bryant didn't say that about himself. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't say that about himself. Bill Russell didn't say that about himself.
They point to other guys, as you know, and say, oh, wait. Kobe and Michael would say, wait a minute, he didn't win as many championships with Jerry West. Hold on, you better mention Kareem. They would all mention Bill Russell. So the notion that anyone is saying, I'm the greatest, there's one guy in the history of sports I give total pass to saying I'm the greatest, and that's where GOAT comes from, Muhammad Ali. He's the only one who gets to say, I'm the greatest. Ali invented the conversation. He was, and to me still is, the greatest, because he didn't just change his sport. He didn't just change sports. He changed the world.
Changed society.
He changed the nation's position on war.
Himself. Tim Duncan didn't say that about himself. Nobody said that. Nobody but him and his camp. Steph Curry hasn't said that about himself. Steph Curry has never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Ray Allen never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Reggie Miller never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Allen Houston never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Nobody called themselves the greatest in anything but that man and his.
Let me make this clear so it echoes through every barbershop, locker room, and sports debate across the country. Allen Iverson's Game 1 performance in the 2001 NBA Finals remains one of the boldest, most unforgettable, and fearless moments ever seen on basketball's biggest stage. Not Michael Jordan, not Kobe Bryant, not LeBron James. Iverson, officially listed at 6 feet tall. Though many believed he was closer to 5 feet 10 inches, he entered Los Angeles with braids, confidence, and the spirit of Philadelphia behind him. He stepped into the home of Shaq and Kobe while the Lakers were 15-0 in the playoffs and looked destined to dominate everyone in their path. And he delivered. He didn't just score 48 points. He didn't simply win Game 1. He shocked the basketball world. He shattered expectations. His iconic step-over of Tyronn Lue became one of the most recognizable moments in finals history, yet even now, some people downplay that performance, treating it like an anomaly rather than a defining statement. Many rank players above Iverson who never had a finals moment that captured the same level of defiance and impact. That night, Iverson wasn't just playing basketball, he was challenging the NBA hierarchy itself. Throughout his career, critics labeled him too small, too reckless, too emotional, and too unconventional. Still, there he stood, Iverson, the 6-foot rebel from Virginia, facing one of the most dominant dynasties the league had ever seen. Dressed in purple and gold, the 2001 Los Angeles Lakers weren't just talented, they felt unbeatable. They entered the finals with 15 straight playoff wins. Shaquille O'Neal was at the peak of his dominance. Kobe was evolving into a ruthless superstar. Coach Phil Jackson orchestrated everything with precision. This Lakers team rolled through opponents like a machine. Las Vegas gave Philadelphia little hope, and much of the media expected an easy series. The NBA world was already preparing to celebrate another Lakers title, but for Iverson, this wasn't just another game, it felt personal. He had spent years hearing criticism, from his days at Georgetown through his NBA career. People questioned his leadership, his style, and whether he could ever truly win. Now, many believed he was simply another obstacle for Kobe and Shaq to move past. What often gets forgotten is that Iverson carried that Philadelphia 76ers squad to the finals largely through determination and willpower. He didn't have a super team or multiple superstars beside him. He had role players, defenders, and hard-working teammates. While the Lakers featured two of the league's biggest stars, Iverson battled through injuries, pressure, and doubt. This was a classic David versus Goliath matchup. Most players in that situation would simply try to survive the moment or avoid embarrassment. Iverson embraced it. He welcomed the spotlight. He walked into Crypto.com Arena, then known as Staples Center, with the belief that the spotlight belonged to him. He wasn't fueled by hype. He was fueled by heart and resentment built over years of criticism. When he looked across the court at Shaq and Kobe, he never hesitated. He never backed down. Because Iverson had already faced bigger battles in life. Compared to everything else, basketball was simply another fight he intended to win. Every crossover, every jumper, every fearless drive into the paint became part of that mission. He wasn't just chasing points. He was fighting for respect, redemption, and a place in history. For context, the world expected Game 1 to be routine. The Lakers were supposed to dominate. Many thought the finals would end quickly. Philadelphia was viewed as a team just happy to be there. But something felt different that night. The Lakers weren't prepared for Iverson at his most dangerous, not the regular season scorer, not the scoring champion, but the version shaped by doubt, criticism, and relentless pressure. When a competitor like Iverson feels cornered, the result becomes more than just a basketball game. It becomes a statement. The GOAT debate in the NBA has always been intense, but performances like this continue to shape how greatness is remembered.
Stephen A. Smith mistakenly exposed himself and the fact that LeBron really shouldn't be in the top three, and LeBron James stacked teams to get to where he is. So as he was talking about it, Stephen A. Smith then says he's wrong about not having LeBron in his top three, but he's right by saying had Michael Jordan stacked teams to win championships, he would have had like 10 championships. So then the question then becomes, so if LeBron never stacked teams, how many championships would he have, Stephen A?
Have you ever watched someone walk into a kingdom and tear it apart with nothing but confidence, sneakers, and something to prove? That's what Allen Iverson delivered in Game 1 of the 2001 NBA Finals. This wasn't just another basketball game. It felt like a rebellion, a message written through effort, attitude, and pure determination. Iverson didn't simply rise to the occasion, he controlled it. He owned the night as if he belonged on that court more than anyone else, scoring 48 points on the road in the NBA Finals against a team that hadn't lost a playoff game in months sounded almost impossible. The Los Angeles Lakers looked unbeatable. They had dominated the Western Conference with ease. They overpowered opponents, including teams led by stars like Tim Duncan and the San Antonio Spurs. Many believed the championship celebration was already inevitable, yet they couldn't stop a 6-foot scorer with braids, tattoos, and complete fearlessness. From the opening quarter, Iverson attacked immediately. He crossed over Derek Fisher, knocked down jumpers, and floated shots through traffic. He even connected with defenders like Kobe Bryant contesting him. The crowd slowly shifted from confidence to uncertainty. By the second quarter, Iverson had found another level. He played with emotion, confidence, and swagger. He exchanged words with players like Rick Fox and challenged the Lakers at every turn. The tension on the court grew because this wasn't part of the expected script. In the third quarter, the Lakers turned to Tyronn Lue as a defensive option, but Iverson continued to score through step-backs, pull-ups, and relentless drives. He turned the game into a showcase of shot-making and confidence. By the fourth quarter, everything became personal. Shaquille O'Neal remained dominant. Kobe continued attacking. But Iverson entered a zone where defensive schemes seemed meaningless. Double teams didn't matter. Pressure didn't matter. It became a battle between him and the basket. Then came overtime. The game was tied, the arena was loud, and the tension was overwhelming. Iverson isolated against Tyronn Lue, created space, and knocked down the shot. Then came the moment forever tied to NBA history, the iconic step over. After making the basket, Iverson stepped over Lue, creating an image that became symbolic of the night. It wasn't just a highlight. It represented defiance, confidence, and a smaller player standing tall against one of the league's strongest dynasties. Some people call it just one game, but for many, that single night carried enormous meaning. It challenged assumptions. It showed that greatness is not always measured only by championships. Sometimes it's defined by unforgettable moments. Iverson didn't have a super team behind him. He carried the burden himself. He didn't wait for respect to be given. He forced people to acknowledge him. He played 46 minutes, took 41 shots, absorbed constant contact, and kept getting back up. That performance felt bigger than basketball. It was one player carrying the pride of an entire city into enemy territory, and for one unforgettable night, the so-called unbeatable Lakers had no solution. They were outplayed, they were stunned, they were introduced to an Iverson performance that still lives in NBA history.
They were trying to compel people to say he was the greatest. Michael Jordan didn't say that about himself. Kobe Bryant didn't say that about himself. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't say that about himself. Bill Russell didn't say that about himself. Tim Duncan didn't say that about himself. Nobody said that. Nobody but him in his camp. Steph Curry hasn't said that about himself. Steph Curry has never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Ray Allen never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Reggie Miller never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Allen Houston never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Nobody called themselves the greatest in anything but that man.
Let me ask the question many basketball fans rarely hear discussed openly. Why isn't Allen Iverson consistently placed among the highest tier of all-time greats? Why does his name sometimes disappear when analysts create their NBA Mount Rushmore lists? The conversation usually centers around names like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and increasingly Stephen Curry, but Iverson's name often receives less attention in those discussions. For some supporters, that feels unfair. They argue that Iverson represented more than elite basketball skill. He symbolized individuality, resistance, and authenticity within the sport. He didn't try to fit into a traditional mold or follow expectations. Instead, he brought his own identity to the game. Many believe that made him different from other superstars. Some feel the media never fully embraced Iverson because he challenged norms. He didn't always present himself in a polished or corporate-friendly way. He stayed true to who he was, blending basketball culture with hip-hop influence and personal expression. To his supporters, that authenticity made him powerful and relatable. They argue that while other stars were celebrated for fitting league expectations, Iverson was often criticized for being unconventional. At his peak in the early 2000s, Iverson became one of the NBA's most influential figures. He changed fashion, attitude, and player culture. Yet some believe his impact is often minimized. Critics sometimes focus heavily on efficiency numbers, field goal percentage, or shot volume when evaluating his career. Supporters counter that statistics alone don't fully capture what Iverson brought to the game. They point to his toughness, fearlessness, and ability to carry teams beyond expectations. One example often highlighted is his run with the Philadelphia 76ers to the NBA Finals, including his unforgettable performance against the dominant Los Angeles Lakers. For many fans, that moment represents resilience more than numbers ever could. Another argument often raised is that Iverson rarely received leniency from media, officials, or public opinion. He played through criticism, physical punishment, and intense scrutiny. Unlike some modern stars who change teams or seek better situations, Iverson is remembered by supporters as someone who embraced adversity rather than avoiding it. They believe his legacy deserves more recognition for toughness, loyalty, and cultural influence. To those fans, overlooking Iverson's place in basketball history feels like an injustice. They see him not just as a great player, but as one of the most influential personalities the NBA has ever seen. For them, Iverson wasn't simply part of basketball of the game.
Total pass to saying I'm the greatest, and that's where GOAT comes from. Muhammad Ali. He's the only one who gets to say, I'm the greatest. Ali invented the conversation. He was, and to me still is, the greatest because he didn't just change his sport. He didn't just change sports. He changed the world.
Changed society.
He changed the nation's position on war. They point to other guys, as you know, and say, oh, wait. Kobe and Michael would say, wait a minute, he didn't win as many championships with Jerry West. Hold on, you better mention Kareem. They would all mention Bill Russell. So the notion that anyone is saying, I'm the greatest, there's one guy in the history of sports I've
listened to every argument there is out there for why LeBron should be considered the GOAT or next to Michael. I've pretty much heard them all. And out of the abundance of arguments that I've heard, not one of them is rooted in any kind of logic or sense. It's just rooted in a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of twerking and
losses. To understand Iverson's legacy, many argue you have to look beyond the box score, look into the crowd, look at generations of fans who embraced cornrows, headbands, tattoos, sleeves, and a sense of identity because of him. He inspired not only athletes, but also people who felt different, overlooked, or underestimated. Iverson became proof that a player didn't need to fit the traditional mold to matter in the NBA. For many, his message was simple: stay true to yourself, even if it makes others uncomfortable. That authenticity resonated deeply. Some believe the challenge was that Iverson never fit the polished image many expected from stars. He was emotional, outspoken, and unapologetically himself. He didn't follow a carefully crafted public script, Instead, he showed raw honesty, and that made him stand apart. Critics viewed aspects of his personality differently, while supporters saw passion and individuality. During his career, league dress code discussions were often connected to the changing culture Iverson represented. Yet despite criticism, many feel his influence only grew stronger. While debates continued, Iverson became a symbol for people who felt underestimated. He represented anyone told they were too small, too different, or not built for success. One of the most unique parts of his story is that even without winning an NBA championship, he still left behind a legendary image. His 2001 finals run with the Philadelphia 76ers remains iconic because of how much emotion, toughness, and belief it carried. Supporters argue that while Michael Jordan changed the standard for winning, Iverson changed to believe they could belong. That influence goes beyond championships or statistics. It becomes about identity, inspiration, and cultural impact. So when Iverson's name is left off certain all-time lists, many fans feel it overlooks a deeper truth. They argue he was never just a scorer or a star. He represented the heartbeat of an era. And for those who grew up watching him, that influence remains impossible to erase. It's remembered, respected, and still felt years later.